monthly TechHour session brought to you by SCS Tech Entrepreneurship SIG, ACE, and Stream Global. My name is Chuck. We've been running this TechHour every month on the second Wednesday of the month. We've been doing this for actually 4 years, and a couple of years back we were doing it almost every week. We have more than 100 videos now, so go ahead and search SCS TechHour on either the SCS website or YouTube, and you might find something that interests you. In this session, we will share and talk about topics that are actually close to the heart of many technopreneurs and potential tech entrepreneurs. We usually have physical meetings in ACE Ideation Center, but and we also stream live from there, but we cannot meet because of this pandemic, and I actually cannot wait to meet you guys again when everything is under control. Actually, I always wanted to explore this topic of technopreneurship. Now, is it really for me, right? For many techies out there, the answer seems to be split right in the middle. Some say that I'm good techie and I'm not really an entrepreneur. Right? And many non-techie guys are also split in the middle. They say that I'm good at business, right? And they convince themselves that they are too low tech to be a tech entrepreneur, right? Lucky we have with us today Mr. Lau Yin Ching, or YC to many of us. He has more than 20 years of HR experience across Asia Pacific. He's actually very passionate about human talent and organization development. He was in HR in many companies, companies like Singtel, IDA, Escort Group, Sembawang Logistics, just to name a few. But what I do is let me just pass this time to YC to tell you a little bit about himself and what is he up to nowadays. YC, please.
Hey, hi everyone. Very happy to be with all of you. Yeah, so like what Chuck has mentioned, I'm a HR OD person. Spent many years in different companies. My first foray into helping startups was in IDA, where I was involved in helping to set up BASH. BASH stands for Build Amazing Startup Here. That was a time where we wanted to really kickstart the ecosystem. Subsequently, after IDA, I spent about a year advising different companies and startups, right, in terms of helping them to understand what is it that they need to take note of when it comes to HR, how to be adaptive, how to be agile, at the same time to be able to grow their business. And when they grow to a certain size, how to make sure they put in place the right HR thinking to avoid internal tensions and internal difficulties, which is part of growing pains. Then thereafter, I joined Singtel. So I head HR and OD for Group Digital Life, which is a portfolio of different digital companies. Right? So I think right now I'm continue to be passionate about helping startups, helping organizations, and in these COVID situations, while it's a huge risk, I do see plenty of opportunities for people who are brave, who are willing, and are willing to upgrade and transform themselves, right, to take up the challenge, to learn and also benefit from the various opportunities available.
Thank you so much, I see. Right. I'm also very fortunate to have Mr. Jeffrey Na, who is a business advisor, investor, mentor, and also an adjunct lecturer with us today. I've actually known Jeffrey for more than 2 decades, maybe even more, right? When he was at 3 decades. At that time, he was merely a successful banker. Now he's not only a successful banker, but he's a successful entrepreneur as well as a investor. Now, since then, he has become an investor, and he built a call center business from 20 to 2,000 seats. We have also co-invested in a few tech companies together. Let me pass it to Jeff to tell a little bit more about himself and to update us on what he has been doing nowadays. Thanks, you, Jeff.
Thanks, Chuck. Thanks, YC. It is humble for me to share a little bit of my journey. It's a humble journey. So simply put, over 40 years, I went from banking to being an entrepreneur and then being an investor. And of course now, I started investing as part of the VC of a government venture fund. That was how we did a joint investment together with Chuck's company, Stream Global. But right now I'm doing a direct angel investment as well as investment in the venture capital funds, both in Singapore and the United States. So what do I do now? So I spent about 16 years in banking, and then 16 years as an entrepreneur in the call center space that Chuck talks about. In banking, I have the fortunate to grow up in an American bank and then a German bank. So I'm able to compare and contrast the American style and the German style. It's a little bit different, but I learned from everybody. So what I found very useful for me in banking when I became an entrepreneur was everything that I was passionately learning in banking, I could translate and apply them to the call center environment. Actually, when the chairman of the company, when it was still very small, when they recruited me, he had a hard time trying to convince me how I, as a banker, know how to run the call center. And in fact, my banker boss locked me up in the room and told me that he don't know what I've been eating or smoking or drinking the night before, and he said that you probably ran out of your mind. So go sit on my couch, because his room is quite big, so he has a big couch. So I said, boss, you want to be my psychiatrist? I said, I'm so sorry if I showed you. Then he said, I don't believe you. I said, why? Because he said, tell me which bank you're going to. So I said, I'm not going to a bank, I'm going to call center like I told you. And he said, I don't believe you. So anyway, he opened the door, he said, get out of here, you'll come back in 6 months. So, but at some stage during my entrepreneurial journey, I did think about when things get tough. I was thinking like, shit, I should have listened to him. I went out of my mind. Did I entertain that thought? Yes, I did. But did I turn back? No. For me, I said it has to be onward and forward focus. Once I decide, I commit to it, the journey, and I do it come hell or fire or rainwater. So went through that, and then now I'm an investor in a VC fund, and also invested in companies from India, helped an Indian company to scale into Indonesia, help a Singapore company get into Vietnam. And I'm now bringing a US company in the medical health tech to scale into Asia, along with several media companies. So I'm very passionate about entrepreneurship, because I think the past where Singapore earns its keep, many of sources of Singapore's income is going to go away. The port, the airport were being challenged left, right, and center. And with all the disruptions happening, I think the only way forward for Singapore is to create innovation and internationalization. To do that, we need more entrepreneurs. So with that, I thank you very much for listening to my short story of a long journey.
Thanks, Jeff. Actually, you know, as I first started off, you know, I was just thinking, right, especially in this COVID period, this thinking actually came back to me again, right? Is technopreneurship, entrepreneurship, is it for me? The first question I actually have for you guys is that, is actually technopreneurship or entrepreneurship, can it be learned? Can it be taught, right? Is it a process? I have my own views on that, but maybe what you could do is if you could share with us, you know, what are your thoughts on this? Can the experience of an entrepreneur or technobeer be learned or be taught? YC, what do you think?
No, I think it starts with, before you even go into whether it can be taught, right? It starts with a desire by the individual, right? To want to make a difference, who saw an opportunity that is not met. And he say, hey, for that opportunity, I can do it, right? It starts with that, right? It starts with spotting something, you know, like Jeff, you know, he saw something in call center that his boss, you know, couldn't see. And he said, that's for me, right? And he took the leap of faith with that belief. And then after that, right, you acquire skills along the way. The journey will not be difficult, because very often, right, you, from all my interaction with a number of startups, whether CEO level or they're just in a team, a lot of it is not about a technical challenge, right? It's how do you overcome the emotional ups and downs? How do you deal with setback? How do you bounce back? How do you learn more about yourself? How do you then take forward? So I think once you see an opportunity that you say, hey, that's something that's very interesting and I want to try. So I think that's a starting point. The rest, right, is about learning along the way and upgrading yourself to be better each day.
Yeah, thanks. Jeff, I mean, you are teaching entrepreneurship, right? So you must think that there is.
Yeah, so I would answer your question differently. It depends on what's the interpretation of a thought. So I agree with you may teach, but they may not learn. The best learning is experiential learning. The best learning is always problem-based, experiential, and team-based learning, because that's what the real world is about. So the learning environment as teaching has been framed in traditional ways is that they try to stuff knowledge into you, and then they say, go apply it. I don't know how you apply, but you just go apply. So you graduate, you learn university, and then you have to go and figure out how to apply. And the way you study in university and the way you interact with your schoolmates is very different than when you go to the workplace. Whether the workplace is in a corporate, large multinational environment, again, it's a different kind of environment. So you have to learn. And then when you go to a startup with 5 person or 10 person, it's like one person do everything. They say, "Wow, sorry, pardon my English." So to me, traditionally, the learning tries to infuse knowledge and ask you to figure out how to apply it. But they never teach you the mindset. Can the mindset be taught? So for me, entrepreneurship or anything anybody wants to do, he must have enough curiosity to build the initiative and the adaptability and the agility. Nobody can do that for him. So the learning is the student's journey. The learner's journey is his learning journey. The trainers or the teachers or the lecturers, whatever you call them, it can at best be facilitators of the learning. So the teaching pedagogy is very important. If the teaching pedagogy is helping them to be a facilitator, to help the learner learn what he wants to learn and how he wishes to learn and customize learning. So traditionally, it's always structured, and that's why it doesn't. And that's why I tell people, if you work 1 year in a startup, it's better than doing 6 years with undergrad and master program. Because what you have to learn in a startup, you will learn if you are willing to sweat it out, commit to the 24-hour journey, 7 days a week, 7 by 24. And anyway, in the call center, we are 7 by 24. But of course, I need to sleep, I need to go to the toilet and stuff like that. But so it starts with the mindset. So the learning journey to me starts with the mindset, and then you build the competence. Because in today's world, the knowledge, as long as you got a smartphone, and I believe a lot of people have a smartphone, the knowledge is all there. So the question is, and it's more important, how you apply the knowledge with the right mindset.
So if you look at it, it is the idea of teaching or learning is actually beyond academics. That's what you guys are saying, right? It comes with a desire. It comes with an understanding of a gap, which is a growth mindset, if you think about it. It comes with experiential. It comes with working with teams and problems, right? So the learning of entrepreneur, if I can summarize that, is really about understanding the process, understanding risk, understanding what skills and competencies that you do and you don't have, right? And as well as networking, right? And I think one of the big things of why we started this Tech Hour for Tech Entrepreneur is actually about networking, right? Actually, this is a very good reflection, actually. But the question is also this, right? I mean, I've been asked a lot of times, right, that people do see a gap, right? Especially on the tech side. I mean, today, if you do whatever we do, right, the bulk of it is on tech, whether you are in medicine, you are in insurance, you are in whatever fields, right? The tech comes along. And some people always come to me and say, but Chuck, you know, I have very little tech experience. how can I be a tech entrepreneur, right? What would some of your advice be for these people, right? I keep it to tech because this group is about tech entrepreneurism, right? Of course, generally, this also applies to the general entrepreneurism, of course, you know, in all the different space, right? But what would your advice be? I have very little tech, you know, how can I be a tech entrepreneur?
Okay, maybe I share my perspective lah. I think for tech, it's important to understand the trends, and it's also important to understand what are some of the key essence of tech. So I use an example, which is the future of work, right? So what will impact the future of work? AI, right? Then what is it that AI can do, and what is it that it cannot do? AI is very good when you have a lot of data that allows you to train the machine to predict. Then what is AI not good at? AI is no good when it comes to work that requires compassion, that requires relationship. AI is no good when it comes to work that requires innovation, requires strategy, because these are new data points that you don't have and you can't train the AI for it. So those are the fundamental things that any entrepreneur must understand what AI can do and cannot do. Then the second step is to understand in this world out there, where is the opportunity when it comes to the future of work. Then you then say, which type of work will be best done by machines, right? Which part of work that is best done by humans or in combination. And from then on, you can say, where is the gap? And then you can then articulate that in the future of work, this is the product or service that I'm going to create, and this is what I want to achieve out of technology. Now, once you are clear about the problem statement and how you want to use the technology, you can then say, who can I go reach out to now to help me out in building out the tech? Because very often for technical people, they can be very technical, but they are often not very strong in understanding the context as well as the problem statement, right? So I think with a deep understanding of the context and the problem you are trying to solve, and also key essence of where the technology is leading, right? It is possible for someone that's not very deep in tech to be able to use tech to create a venture.
Jeff, your thoughts?
Yeah, for me, the entrepreneurial mindset and instinct never focus on the personal limitations. If I don't know tech and I want tech, I will go learn the tech. I will not let anything stop me, because believe it or not, the Sun Tzu Art of War says, you know yourself and know your enemy, 1,000 battles, 4,000 battles won. But I have a different twist on him. To me, the greatest enemy is yourself. If you can conquer yourself and conquer your own fears, there's virtually very little that you cannot do. Very little. And if you are willing to put in the effort, the sweat, you may not succeed. But as they say, better to die trying than never to have tried, right? But coming from the angle of what YC mentioned about trends, about where you want to go, I want to start from the basics of what does it mean to be an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is about value creation of solutions and services that benefits society. So how can you then create value? The second step is to analyze what are the global mega trends. In fact, the global mega trends are already there. The writings on the wall. COVID-19 just accelerated the speed 10 times. So now you understand the trends, then you see where is technology driving these trends, and which aspect of these trends that technology is driving is the playground you want to play in. Then you figure out what are you missing in terms of knowledge, skills, gaps, partners, alliances. And if you don't have it, you either buy it or you learn it or you get people who know it and form a team. That will solve the problem. So that's my take on it.
Interesting. I've got a question, right? And it's from actually Ronnie J. Maybe what I can do is that, maybe I can invite Ronnie to ask the question himself. Let me see if I can find Ronnie. Administrator, if you can find Ronnie, can you give him a mute right to speak?
Hello, yes, I'm here.
Unmute and unveil also, please.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Yeah, and Chuck as well. Thanks for the...
Do you mind to show your face too, please?
Okay, sure.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries. Yeah. Well, actually, due to there are certain concerns.
Can you speak a little louder? Or at least I can't hear you very well. Sorry.
Okay, hang on. I'll just try to raise up the volume. Just give me a moment.
Ronnie's question is really about his. So let me just start the first question. Well, he's been in the industry for a while, and he's saying that starting a business needs capital. Now, how can he raise capital? Is that what you're asking? The first question.
Yep, that's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Injing?
I shall give it to the expert.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let me answer that question,
Yeah.
right? I think I answer it very indirectly. So I also came from a corporate background, right? Before I started my company, I used to work for a company called Anderson Consulting. I think they are called Accenture now. So what I did was that I have a few months after I left Accenture, I actually look for opportunities to start my business, right? Meaning that I want to secure a few projects before I really start off my company, right? So that actually helped me with some cash. And you're absolutely right. What I did was that I had some savings, so I put some savings aside, right? To make the minimum starting of the company, renting a small space and things like that. But what I do is before I really kick off, right, I went out to look for different opportunities, because I understand that at that time when I left, I know Lotus no more. There's no more. It's still around with IBM, but it's called Lotus Notes, right? And that time was really very hot, right? So I did some Lotus Notes consulting before I actually kick off my big startup to do a product, right? So in the first year or two, I did a lot of Lotus Notes consulting, right, to make ends meet, right? And that's how I started my business at that particular point in time. So yes, capital is a big thing. But I think if you put your heart into solving a problem and you show your investors that you have skin in the game, that means you have started it. You are not going in there to just raise money and start a company. That means you start something and you show that it's working. I am pretty sure many investors will come behind you. But correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff. I mean, from that perspective, right? We like to invest in companies that actually where the founders have some skin in the game. That means they say, okay, let me quit my job, right? Let me do this thing. Let me show you it's working, right? Let me show you I'm making some money, right? But I needed money to grow my business, right? And that's, I think, where the investor comes in.
Yeah, I totally agree. Let me just add a couple of comments to that. I think there is always money for projects that can do good and do well. The question is, how do you convince the investor that your project can do good and do well? So how do you convince? So the next question will be, how do you convince investors? If it's not what you say, it's what you do. That says a lot more. But in the early stage, you have to really get from friends and families, so-called friends and families, because you don't have really much thing to show the external investors who do not know you. So
correct.
it's only the people who know you will bet on you because they are betting on you, not just what you do. But when you next stage, you come to angels, you need to show a little bit, right? But I would invest in building relationships with strategic angels, what I call strategic angels. What do I mean by strategic angels? Strategic angels means people who are familiar with the market space that you are working in, and people who have connections with larger VC funds that they can introduce you to for later investment. So the people in the marketplace can help you get new customers. The people in the marketplace can help you to find better talent or better supplies, as the case may be. So you need to find people in the angel space who can help you. So start with friends and families and move on to show something and to get the strategic angels in. Once you have strategic angels in, they will help you scale to the next level where they will even be very happy to present you to the larger VCs for the larger funding at your next growth stage, because it is in their interest to do so. Sorry for a long answer to a short question.
No worries. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ronnie. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Yeah. No worries.
Yeah. The thing about learning about tech entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship, I think is beyond beyond wanting to start a company. I remember when I was teaching in ISS on technopreneurship, there are actually corporate people working in corporate to actually sign up for the course. And the whole idea is actually learning about growth mindset, right? And really having the growth mindset, having an entrepreneurial mindset actually also help you in your corporate career, right? The question is actually, it's no longer a job going to the future. It's about how to help really your job. How do you really use entrepreneurial mindset or growth mindset, right, to expand, the business for the corporate that you're working with. I mean, I actually like the idea of experimenting, working with a startup. I know, YC, you have some thoughts on building an opportunity, right, to actually take some people, right, and perhaps get some funding to pay some small salary, and actually teach and learn entrepreneurship for a year, right? Meaning that if we think that, let's say, security or systems integration or digitization, right? Right nowadays you have digital transformation for SME, right? And a lot of the SME really do not know how to transform their business digitally, right? The question is that, is it possible, right, to get a bunch of people together, right, get some funding to say, pay for light, heat, and water, meaning some small salary, but really teach these people entrepreneurship by actually going into projects. What do you think of that idea? I mean, we know we talked about this. A few of us talked about this for a while. What is there anything we could do?
I think that's definitely something that we can do, right? Because if we look into the entrepreneur space, right, there's this concept of an accelerator. So what an accelerator does, what an accelerator does is that they bring people together, right? Very often they either sign up as individuals or as teams. If it's individual, they'll be matched together. They brainstorm on a business idea, right? They undergo training in different aspects to build they call it a lean canvas, where, in one statement, you're very clear about whether is it your business model, is it B2C or B2B, right? And then what's your value proposition? What is the problem you're trying to solve, right? What's the minimum viable product that you need? What are the gaps, right? But in a very structured manner. And then the accelerator ends, this kind of whole session ends, which what we call the demo day or pitch day, where the teams will then pitch to potential investors as to what is their idea, what is it they need, and why they should invest in them. I think and subsequently, if you're successful in the pitching, right, typically after a 2 or 3 month process, then there are funds given to you to sustain the project, for the next nine months. So in total, it could be a 1 year or 18-month program. So I feel that in this COVID situation, there are plenty of opportunities. Because many companies, including SMEs, now realize digital is the way to go. But how to go digital? In which aspect, right? There are also many people that's also affected. Either they are retrenched or they are just too tired in a corporate world whereby they are constantly looking at cost cutting rather than focus in something new. So maybe there could be an opportunity, for us to create a accelerator-like kind of model to bring people who want to value add in a particular topic. So for example, it could be opportunities arising from COVID, or how to best help SME digitize, right? And many of these people would have some experience, and they will know what is it that they can value add, and maybe we could work out something together with the right funding. And like what Jeffrey said, if you spend 1 year in the entrepreneur space, like, it's equivalent to 6 years in school because of the amount of things that you can learn. And after 1 year or 18 months, even if you are not successful, you would have learned so much, gained so much, that I'm sure, right, your CV will look much better compared to you have not started. Yeah, so that's my views on this.
Interesting. Hey Jeff, you are actually lecturing on entrepreneurship, right? Maybe we could get some of your structure together at YC and form something, right? And get open this up to people and say, hey, if you are retrenched, or if you are like YC say, you're a bit tired, right? Okay, let's do something and go forward with it. I mean, yeah. What are your thoughts?
Happy to explore it. In fact, I'm already helping. I taught the Lean Launchpad at the NUS program, which is what YC just talked about, the Lean Business Canvas model. So it's it gets back to your original question where you say, can entrepreneurship be taught? It cannot be taught, it has to be caught. But what the class does is not to teach, but to coach, to give them the concepts, but they have to do it. It's a practical program. So entrepreneurship, the training has to be very practical. And that's why I do, even at NTU, when I do the resource engineering program, which is, they pick the best undergrad students from the computer school, from the business school, and the engineering school, to put it together in this program. And this is a master's program. And a lot of the credits are also not only on the theory and the exams. So 50% of the credit is on the practical. So the practical is where I teach and I coach. So I don't teach, I coach. I give them the concepts, and then I create projects for them to do and drive it. So kind of long story short, happy to work out something where SCS, TNR, Special Interest Group can perhaps formulate something that we can do to help fresh students or people in mid-careers who are looking for opportunities to transform. Yeah.
Yeah, certainly. I think we should actually give that some thoughts.
Yeah,
we'll probably talk to the committee and see what we can do.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys another question, right? What would your advice for me, right? If I see tech entrepreneurship is for me, what would your advice be? A general advice?
I would say go to meet more people. Go to more networking is number one, because but secondary research is also good. You should Google a lot about technology and how the global mega trends that are impacted through technology, and then identify, as I mentioned, because the entrepreneur is about value creation. So you want to know how to create value, you need to research on the internet, and then you not only research the trends or the impact of technology on the trends, but you also research where can you go networking. Okay, SES is one place, one very good place. And Chuck, if you talk to Chuck personally, he will feed you into all other ecosystem because he's so well connected. He's more connected than an octopus. And his suction cups are so attractive that nobody can resist him. If he channels you to somebody, nobody can refuse you. He's such a brilliant networker. So, you know, research. So this is what I mean. Don't let yourself limit yourself. Break your own glass ceiling. If you want to be an entrepreneur, break out of your own glass ceiling. Do your work, do your homework, do anything, everything to get where you want to get. Find the information, get the network, get everything, get it. Or if you don't get it, then it's fine too.
Yeah. Okay, so for me, I think once you say, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur, right? I'm sure that comes with an initial idea of a need that is not met or not met very well. So I think that you need to begin the process of validation. That means speaking to people, understanding the issue, understanding that, hey, if there is this, people are willing to pay, whether is it a B2C or B2C model, and then to say, in order to create this, how do I start? So I think you then begin the process of validation. And more often than not, right, as you validate, as you network, as you research, as you speak to people, you will gather more data points. Those data points will inform you whether your initial idea is valid, or it can be enhanced, or it can be pivoted. More often than not, right, as you do, as you engage, as you learn, as you evolve, you'll find, hey, the original idea actually evolved or pivot to something else, which is okay, because it's part and parcel about learning about the environment and seeing how you can make an impact and value add, and have certainty that at some point, or rather people will pay for it, or you'll create sufficient value that at some point you are that investor will say that's of value, even though the monetization can be later. So I think it's about that curiosity lah. It's about wanting to find out more, and wanting to reflect, wanting to learn, and then from then on, how do you evolve? How do you pivot?
Yeah, I think we would certainly like to partner with many organizations or many people out there to see how we can actually help promote tech entrepreneurism, because I think, you know, the opportunity, there would be a fallout after COVID. I am pretty sure about that, right? There'll be quite a lot of pains, but beside the pain, I think there's also going to be a lot of opportunity, right? And I think where we are coming from, you know, we are there to see whether how we could actually help, you know, the general population to see whether is entrepreneurship right for you, right? And if there is, you know, are there tools that, you know, you could access? And I can certainly say that, you know, from the discussion, you have at least 2 or 3 of us who can help in terms of understanding, you know, providing you with some understanding of the opportunity. Let me summarize, and I'm going to end, right? So if you guys want to ask questions and didn't want to type, just use the raise hand function on the right side. If you look at if you click on participate, the participants, right at the bottom there's a raise hand. If you raise your hands, we will let you ask the questions. But I think what we have talked about today is really technopreneurship or entrepreneurship is really about a desire, right? It's not. It's about desire, and while there are physical lessons that you could learn, it is not much about really teaching, but learning through experiential, learning through experience, right? Problem solving, team-based, you know, and really the teachers are basically facilitators for you, right? And that in order really to see whether, you know, what your solution or your product or services could do, you really need to have an understanding, need to dig in to see whether there is a gap that you are solving, right? And once you have that, right, you know, perhaps, you know, you might have to dig into some savings or family and friends to do some prototype, right, before you can prove the point and you can get more capital to actually run your business, right? I think that's really what we have, you know, in terms of this 45-minute sessions that we have together. And perhaps maybe, you know, if, another thing that is actually very critical that all three of us has brought up is actually networking, right? You need to, you want to find out what is happening out there, right? So I think those are the things that I think is what we have talked through. And certainly I think technopreneurship is open to everybody if they have the desire, they have the understanding, they understand the gap, right? And they do network. Anything have I missed out? Oh, there's a question from Ronnie again. He says that before you guys complete, he asked if the ideas, do the ideas have to be patented before starting up a business? What's your view?
My view is don't worry about patents. Worry about getting customers. Patent is only when you scale up. When you don't have customer, you don't have patent, is no use. Yeah. So I have a company who is not so big, but they already have like $2 million revenue. They wanted to go into China. They asked me, should they spend $1 million to arrange for the patent and blah, blah, blah. So I said, what do you think? I mean, I said, you're better using the money to get $3-5 million contract rather than trying to defend. So again, there is no right answer on patents, in my opinion. It depends on the situation and at which stage you are in. Then the question is always managing trade-offs. An entrepreneur will always have to navigate uncertainty and manage the risk. If you don't have appetite for risk, number one, this is number one. If you don't have appetite for risk, it's difficult to be an entrepreneur because you are going to face risk and uncertainty day after day, hour after hour. And if you cannot stomach that, it doesn't mean you cannot. But if you think you cannot, you cannot. So you must start thinking you can. And then you will have from one can, you will have 2 can, 3 can, 4 can, 5 can. And then you build on the can do instead of the cannot. So just to cut the long story short, I think the pattern is situational. It depends on, like, when you go to battle, when do you need to offense and when you need to defend. The pattern is defending. So if the attack is more valuable, then spend the money on attack. Why spend the money on defending? So it's situational.
That's a good explanation. YC, any view?
I think with regard to right now, speed is more key lah.
Yeah.
If you move very fast and people cannot catch up with you, that's actually much more valuable than a pattern. At some point, when you have something so critical, of course you want to protect it, right? You definitely want to protect it if it's very IP driven. But for the rest, just run as fast as you can.
Yes.
Build as strong a partnership as you can, right? And then after that, you know, and just let it grow lah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my view is exactly the same as you guys. If you guys understand the pattern process, you actually have to write out and submit it, and people have to look at it. And what it means is you're actually telling everybody your secret, right? So you spend time telling everybody your secret, somebody else probably will go and get the market before you do lah. So I think I really like Jeff's analogy, right? Is that whether you want to attack or you want to defend, right? I think for a startup to defend all the way, you might not get out the door lah. I think that's the issue. The other thing that someone have asked, Gabriel has asked, is also that, you know, if you are a brand new entrepreneur, technopreneur, how do you get your investors to trust you, right? As they are, you know, inexperienced, right? That lesson is actually a very long lesson. You'll probably take another session just to talk about that. I'll give you a short example. I think most of us actually invest in the individual, right? If you can show us that, you know, you could deliver, right? And regardless of your experience, I think that's what people want to see, right? And that's my short answer, right? It's about you, it's about your confidence, it's about your understanding, it's about your ability to deliver, right? The number of years is important, right? The number of years is important because it gives me some history, right? And that's about it, right? What about you guys? What do you guys think?
My thing is it's really in the early stage, right? It's really about your investors judge of your character and your ability to learn. So that means when you say you're going to deliver this, you really go all out to deliver. But the minute you know you can't and you know why, and you actually communicate back, and then say, what do I learn, right? Because then that would then result in a very trusting relationship, because your investor know this guy, if something goes wrong, he will come back immediately and discuss and brainstorm. He won't hide. So I think you have to ask, how do I make sure I build a credible and a trusting relationship, right? And do your best to do what you say. But the minute you know you can't, you communicate and you brainstorm and you find solutions together. So don't hide it. No point.
So I agree, and to add to that, I would say the general principle of entrepreneur is continuous learning. And I mean learning 24/7, non-stop. I'm still learning. I'm past 60, but I'm still learning every day and every hour. And I talk to young people. I'm learning from them as much as they're learning from me. So make it a habit to learn. So when you make it a habit to learn, so when you want to say that you are young, this is your disadvantage. You are correct. But then when you are disadvantaged, how do you find? This is your gap. So how do you close this gap? Find somebody else who can close the gap for you. And yeah, you have Chuck here who can close the gap for you. So that adds the credibility. So if you can convince Chuck, and Chuck says, if you are young, you show him promise, then I'm willing to invest in you. So if you are able to convince Chuck, you got somebody who will add credibility to your team, right? And then once you convince Chuck, then Chuck will convince Yin Cheng to help you. Now you got two giants on your shoulders, so you don't have to feel that you are alone. So the moral of the message is, understand where your gaps are, understand the market, and understand the investors, and see where is your gap, and find ways to close the gap. Because if you are an entrepreneur, there is no such thing as no way. You find a way.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've got a quick short story. I mean, I the other day on the newspaper, I read about Aaron from Caro. I'm not sure you guys know him.
Yeah.
Aaron, actually, I knew him very long time ago. I think when he was probably 16, 17 years old. And we gave him an award because he was an entrepreneur at the age of 14. He was actually at home at night, building websites during those days, right? Hiring a lot of people from all over the region without even his customer knowing that this is just a 14-year-old boy, right? So he basically was able to kick off his small little business. And today he runs Caro. Caro is one of the moto sites. You can check them out. And then, yes, he has some experience after he graduated. He went to work for an organization for a couple of years. But the other example is actually Siri and Tim, from Carousel, right? They started off Carousel right off from school, right? And they are where they are today. So there are examples out there, right? And I think it's important, to understand. There is a question on actually dealing with burnout. It is how would I say, it's not an easy journey, right? But I think how would I the question is that how do you deal with burnout creating a startup? Because I think you might have started something and you're running out of steam, something to the extent, or you see some people running out of steam. The idea is really, if you ask me, is not to build a startup on your own, right? You need a group of people, you need support, right, around you to rah-rah each other to go forward, right? I've never started a company on my own. Even if I did when I first came out, I very quickly team up with friends so that we could actually help each other and encourage each other as we go along, right? I mean, that's how I see it is going to be a long journey for a company. I mean, don't expect. I mean, if you look at Caro and Carousel, it took them 5-6 years to get to where they are. I mean, it's not overnight, right? And it is a long haul journey, right? And you have to have passion for that. What do you guys think? I mean, any advice for burning out?
Yeah. I mean, as a HR person, I always like to say, just accept that we are human beings. We do have a certain bandwidth, right? We do need to take care of our health in the best way that we can. So just be very aware. If you're tired, you need a break, need to sleep, go sleep. If your mind is not clear, when you're dealing with a complex issue, go clear your mind first, right? So it's all come about, and each one of us have our own ways to deal with our own energy level, to know when we are most productive, and to say how do we, through the understanding, make the best decision we can, right? Adopt the most effective learning style we can. So all of us got to find our way.
Yeah, I agree. And I just want to put it all together in saying that as a startup, you are going to know that you are going to stretch yourself almost to the point of breaking, because if not, you are not. If you're not willing to stretch to the point of almost breaking, even a high degree temperature or freezing temperature, you are not an entrepreneur. And every day you have to stretch, and until you must know your breaking point too. But to add to that, to make the journey more interesting, less challenging, it cannot be a journey alone. Exactly like Chuck says, you need a team. So the question is, how do you, not only your ability, I see the sales ability, so rather your influence ability, your influence leadership, your ability to sell your dream to not only the investor, okay? You have to sell the dream first to yourself and then to your team before you even sell to the investor. Because if you can't even sell the dream to yourself, and if your dream is so strong, if you are not willing to commit 7 by 24, you are not willing to trade off your comfort level, whatever that means to you. You are not willing to eat less, spend less, do less, just focus all in. That's a trade-off. Again, people say, there was a question I saw on about how do I trade off between family time and business time. Yeah, Rick, remember, it's going to take a lot from you. It may stress your family, but then you need a supportive family. As much as you need a supportive team that you're going to talent that you're going to bring in, you are going to need a supportive family that will understand that you will not be around most of the time. And it's a trade-off. It's a choice. It's a choice you make. So my suggestion to you is like driving a car. You only look in the rear view mirror to figure out how the best way forward. Don't look at the rear view mirror and then say, okay, I'm going to go stunt, I'm going to reverse. Then you might bang into something else. So, and then you might change your direction or you might get smashed up. So use the rear view mirror only to help you propel forward. And you need a team to do that.
Yeah. So this is my third talk. I do have other videos. There's one few years back on hiring the right staff. So go check it out. The other one, very often when you have a team, is that you'll fight. So I do have another video called 和气生财, which is how do you work together? A simple process. So go check it out when you're free.
Yeah.
Yes. These are all the old TecHour videos that Ying has very nicely actually spoke in those times. With that, I'd like to thank YC and Jeff. Right, Jeff, I've got a comment from my WhatsApp group that some of my old ex-Anderson Consulting colleague remembers you and send their regards to you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So thank you very much for joining us. I think I hope this sort of encourage you guys that there are more than one solution to what is out there, right? So I hope this served as a good sort of encouragement to you guys. Again, thank you very much, YC and Jeff. Until the next time, probably next month, second Wednesday of the month, right? We'll be signing off. Thank you very much. Right. See you guys. Thank you again, YC and Jeff.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.